Hello and welcome to the Pinfall. They call it the granddaddy of them all, the biggest event in live entertainment, the showcase of immortals, and a night that heroes are created and legends are born. We are talking about WrestleMania, and this podcast is a review of WrestleMania 37 Night 1. My name is Wilbs, and I'm joined by Barnsey and Jordan. Hello, lads.
How you doing, mate? All good?
All good. Buzzing for this Pinfall podcast. Well, it's the first time in 1 year, 1 month, and 1 day that the fans were back. And to start it off, Vince McMahon addressed the WWE Universe, thanked the fans, and welcomed everyone to WrestleMania. For me, this was just such a nice little moment. It sort of really set the tone for the night. It sort of gave me sort of goosebumps and chills, like just seeing the fans there, seeing all the roster on the stage. Was brilliant. Have the intro go to Michael Cole. There's a weather delay. What do you think? What was you thinking at this point?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to think, to be honest. I was a little bit in shock, and then you see like the carnage going on in the background. It looks like people are exiting the arena, and then you see the little banner at the bottom, like saying there's been a rain delay, and then all of a sudden we're thrown to some backstage interviews where I was just like, I felt initially that Shane was obviously put there. Vince McMahon obviously went, Shane, you get out there and just, cut a promo basically. And I suppose this is where you see what they've got just off the cuff, all these ad-lib promos. And I think the longer they went on, the better they got. Because we started with Shane, and he basically almost, like, without spoiling what we're going to review later, he gave a little bit of a hint as to what was going to happen in his match. It was just off the cuff. He was saying that, he's got some surprises and this and that. And then Drew and MVP get involved. And again, MVP gives when you listen to it back, he actually tells you how Lashley is going to end the match in their title match. And then we have a meltdown from Drew, which was unbelievable. But then we got to someone that I just thought he's going to steal the show tomorrow night on night 2, hopefully. Kevin Owens, his promo, I was just literally not emotional about it, but I just thought, what a man! Like, he's displayed again why he's one of the Pinfall's favourites. And yeah, Seth Rollins, another great promo, and the New Day. So that they all got out on the screen, and I was just going to say as well, not only the wrestlers, but Sarah Scriber and Kevin Patrick, or what was Rollins calling him, Mike, or it was that really had me going. I just thought that's where, as a journalist, you earn your money, because it's off the cuff. You're dealing with tricky responses. You've got no script, and I just thought it was actually really good TV, and it was something that I just think that they could potentially do more of in the future. Just like off the cuff, it's live. It's just great. Your adrenaline's going, and you see what they've all got.
Yeah, I'm with you. Definitely give more of it. I quite like seeing the rest stand there, sort of eyeballing everything behind the camera to see when they're done and sort of squirming around what they're trying to say. It was quite funny, and it did show when the cream of the crop at the end with Seth and Kevin giving probably the better 2 promos. But yeah, just rather enjoyable. I loved the start of it when it started with Shane, and then Bobby just bursts in because Shane's run out of things to say, and then Miz has to go on top of him, and it was just utter carnage. I could just imagine Vin just having a heart attack, just trying to make sense of it all. So, but credit to them all, because the weather was unpredictable at that time, and what could have been proper car crash was thoroughly entertainment, and a bit more of a success than a failure.
Yeah, we got to see Michael Cole in a poncho, which was a little highlight for me. I see they were prepared for the weather. But yeah, I agree with what you guys have said. They come out doing really well from this. Some really good promos just off the cuff. So yeah, fair play to them. So finally, after about 45 minutes, we got our first piece of action. It was for the WWE Championship, where Bobby Lashley retained against Drew McIntyre. Lashley won when Drew passed out in the Hurt Lock. Brilliant opener, in my opinion. Do you agree?
Yeah. Well, to start with, what a swerve, because I feel like everyone was expecting this to be Drew's big Mania moment that he lost without the crowds last year, and it was sort of taken away from him. But it was a strange match going into it, because I was expecting Drew to win, but I didn't care if Bobby won, because I'm a massive fan of him as well. And just the quality of this match just shone through, and there's still a lot of Bobby doubters out there, and I think he massively proved them wrong in this one and showed why he deserves to be carrying the World Heavyweight Championship. Just physical match. It's tough going on first after all that rain as well. There was a spot on the top rope. It looked like Drew slipped, trying to go for a superplex, which they sort of ad-libbed and made the best of it. So I was a bit wary about sort of the rain and the wetness around the ring. So to pull it off in those circumstances as well, just a great match. And yeah, the way Bobby wins as well sort of keeps Drew strong. I imagine this feud carries on a bit more. So looking forward to seeing where it goes, and hopefully we get another repackaging of the Hurt Business. We spoke about it before, having sort of bigger names with him, and hopefully this is their elevation to the next level again.
Yeah, I love this match as well. I think that they're going to obviously continue the feud as well, because it looks like, the way it ended with Drew not tapping out and passing out means that they, it opens it again to continue the feud. I just loved watching the entrances. Obviously, seeing Drew come out, you can see he's pretty emotional and he's trying to hold it in check. And he's pretty pumped up. And I just think Lashley's presentation, just that they've added now when he comes out, just they feel like they'd invested in him, and that's why I think I went for him in the prediction. It just felt like I didn't feel like they could make him lose this soon. And I think we'd spoken before, like in previous pods last year, where we were saying you don't really want the title changing hands too much. And you think in the last month it would have been Miz to Lashley, maybe back to McIntyre. Lashley could win it back. So I think it's good if they can give Lashley the belt now, build him a little bit. But yeah, I was just, even though Drew lost, I still feel like he come out of this like looking really, really strong, because he's added the Kimura lock now. So it adds another dimension to him, maybe winning the match against lesser guys than Lashley. He can make them submit. I love the way he did the 3 Future Shock DDTs. And yeah, just when you see someone of that stature running at the ropes and they're about to do a flip outside, you're buzzing. It's just something that shouldn't happen. It was almost like Undertaker-esque. So yeah, I felt like he still come out really strong. And yeah, match as a whole, it was like a slugfest, but then it had some real good technical wrestling in it. And yeah, it was a great opener, and like Jordan said, a massive swerve to start the night.
Yeah, I love this match, and yeah, like I said, Drew's dive to the outside was brilliant. Just sort of unexpected in a way. Don't see him do that very often, or at all really. Do you think this is going to be a long reign then for Lashley? You sort of hinted at you do think it will.
Yeah, I can see him holding it for a while, and if he was to repackage, like Jordan says, maybe with the Hurt Business and getting a couple more guys back in to back him up. I think he can keep it, for a while, and he's got MVP who can do the talking on the mic for him. And yeah, I think he sort of deserves it. He's been with WWE, on and off now for a couple of decades, and it's his first real main title run. So I know he was ECW champion for a bit. So yeah, it's nice to. Yeah, I just think for his work throughout the last year, he deserves a little run at it. Maybe until SummerSlam, or give him a good run, I'd say.
Yeah, I was going to say till SummerSlam at least with the belt, especially when you see him sort of manhandling someone the size of Drew as well. Those big sort of spine buster slams where he's just almost like one hand just puts him above his head and sort of slams him. It's just an incredible feat of strength. So yeah, I think like I said earlier, I think he's proved a lot of doubters wrong. People who don't think he probably is good enough to be at the top end of the card, and I think this Mania really showed why, and fair play for Drew for helping Bobby look like the main eventer he is.
Yeah, because to be fair, I was probably one of them doubters. I sort of said I'm not the biggest fan, but for me, this was definitely Lashley's probably best match I've seen him have, and it was for a world title at WrestleMania, so that's when you want to deliver.
Yeah, I remember when we did the Rewind Manias and going back and watching him versus Finn for the Intercontinental Championship. Just if you go back and watch it, just the massive difference in sort of presentation of Bobby Lashley, in-ring ability. He has come on a long way from that. When we went back to do those rewinds, it was just quite nice to see the massive progression he's taken since then and coming back into the WWE.
Yeah, and last year obviously he fought, was it Aleister Black? So he's come a long way just in a year, and just one of the best things that come out of it was the shock from the crowd. Just when McIntyre obviously passed out and the ref goes over to ring the bell, you just like almost hear a gasp, and it was just I don't know. Sometimes you get that real massive reaction, like when like Daniel Bryan wins at WrestleMania or Kofi Kingston. But on the other hand, like it's just as impressive when you're viewing at home, like when the Undertaker lost to Lesnar, or that gasp last night. It just reminded me of that so much. No one expected it, and sometimes that ending almost adds to the match, and you remember it more just because it was such a shock.
Yeah, really good opener. I think we all enjoyed that one, so good stuff. The next match was a tag team turmoil match, which was won by Tamina and Natalya. The match started off with Lana and Naomi, who were eliminated by Carmella and Billie Kay. They were then eliminated by the Riott Squad, who also eliminated Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. But Tamina and Natalya come out on top when they eliminated the Riott Squad at the end. What did you think of this tag team turmoil?
Probably the weakest match on the card for me. Probably the one I cared the least about. I thought it was a really good showing from the Riott Squad, actually. Their elimination and teamwork to, I think it was when they eliminated Billie Kay and Carmella, they used the double knees and then the senton, and they again tried that later on in the match, which didn't work against Natalya and Tamina. So there was a little bit of a story to it, but I don't really have any feelings on it, really. Now, having incorrectly predicted this, I thought Lana and Naomi might win, but when I saw them come out first, I was like, they're not going to outlast all of these guys. But I definitely think that there'll be a retainment now on night 2. I can't see Natalya and Tamina winning the belts. But I was just a bit, they're not really a tag team. They've just come together in the last few weeks. The Riott Squad are an established tag team, and you sort of, in my opinion, I would have liked to have seen them, go at Jackson and Baszler tomorrow. But yeah, obviously on the way to the ring, you can't pass this match without going past the Mandy Rose slip. I mean, that did have me in stitches, but she's taken it so well on social media, putting up loads of memes, and I saw she did a video with Titus O'Neil, and it happens to the best of them, and it was super wet out there. It was crazy. And then you also had the botch from Greg Hamilton, where he announced that he announced incorrectly that the Riott Squad had been eliminated, but it was actually Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, and that also had me in stitches because he probably cared as much about this match as I did.
Yeah, I mean, this was just pure car crash TV. I don't think anyone in the crowd even cared. It was so quiet. It was the ultimate piss break match, and grab that pint. And yeah, it just showed the lack of care with the women's division, because there was only one good team in this, as Barnsley just said, which was the Riott Squad, and you can tell because they're an actual tag team, and they had the best cohesion together and chemistry and movesets, and the rest of them all just sort of hand-picked and put together to make a match over these 2 nights of Mania. So absolutely gutted for them that they didn't win as the only genuine tag team in there. So yeah, I mean, I'm really not bothered about the night 2 title match now. I, funny enough, can actually see them giving it to Natty and Tamina, just because they were sort of hyping them up as, generations of ex-WWE legends. So I wouldn't be surprised they gave them the belt, but I don't think anyone cares at this point.
A bit harsh. I like the women's tag team division. I like what they're trying to do. I feel like they're trying to build it up, and like obviously the Riott Squad are established, but Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, they are pretty much a team now. Lana and Naomi, they're coming out together. They're dressed together the same. They sort of are a team, and same with Tamina and Natalya. I feel they're trying to maybe push them as a tag team now. Especially, it seems like the women's division is sort of going through like a new process, and they're getting maybe some call-ups and some new people and some new champions. So maybe this is where sort of these sort of women are going to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see these sort of teams sticking together for a while.
My big issue is, I think it was WrestleMania 35, Tamina was with Nia Jax, Natalya was with Beth Phoenix, and now since the turn of the year, I think Billie Kay's been partnered with everyone in that ring. So there's just no, apart from I think Mandy Rose and Dana now, are probably the next sort of established tag team. So for me, I think I'm more disappointed, because it felt like give over these 2 nights, build the Riott Squad, make them champions, and start building other tag teams around it and actually form a bit of structure to this division. Because at the moment, it's just thrown together, and like we've moaned about in the preview and pods beforehand, where the women tag titles are just used as sort of almost fodder for building up the main women's title matches, and that's just not what we need. It's not what the women's division needs either. So we need to build it better, and I just think for that, just a bit disappointed in it.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about it again later, but I feel this is where these sort of women are. They're not near the top of sort of the women's card. So I think this is where they've sort of got to sort of put their attention, and hopefully WWE do sort of try and build these teams as sort of respectable sort of teams that can sort of like develop good sort of tag team matches.
Yeah, this for me, this probably should have been the one that was on the pre-show on SmackDown, and then they should have maybe had the men's tag on the main show, because that match on SmackDown was actually fairly decent. And for me, last night's one was just a bit all over the place. The only thing I really liked in last night's match was Billie Kay. I think she just had such a good comedy element to it. Just the way she come out with Carmella. There was obviously no screen up, so she come out with this sheet to try and like get her dancing behind it, and it was just, obviously when they eliminated Lana and Naomi, it was pretty inventive. It was quite good because then it carried on and they nearly got the pinfall in the next fall as well, but the ref obviously spotted it that time. But yeah, I really enjoyed Billie Kay, and I hope she can form like a formidable team with someone else, because obviously it'd be great if she was back with Peyton.
Okay, next match on the card was Cesaro beating Seth Rollins in an absolute classic match. Did you guys like this one?
As soon as this match ended, it became my match of the week. It was so good. I've never seen two people land on their feet as much as these two, and just the sheer talent that they both put on was just amazing. And absolute fair play to Seth Rollins. He's lost 2 Manias in a row now, but he's essentially elevated 2 superstars to main event pictures, because he gave his absolute 110% to put Cesaro over, probably knowing it was a make or break for him, and just really helping his mate out. And even his moves, some of his moves he was doing just seemed new and fresh, like that forearm to the back of Cesaro's head, and then that sort of super kick where he sort of went past him with a missing knee, left his foot on Cesaro's knee, and then come back and got him. Just this Seth Rollins is what we love to see, and having someone like Cesaro in the ring who's just so strong, just incredible spots in this. I love all the European uppercuts, what Cesaro's known for, and just everyone just behind the swings and counting. Seemed he sort of bodged it the first time with just the 9, but then he come back for the 23. Sort of hoping he was going to 37, but he'd probably thrown up if he got that far. But what a match, and so happy Cesaro went over, because I did genuinely think it'd be a really good match, but Seth takes the win. So fair play to everyone involved in creating that match and producing such a spectacle.
Yeah, sometimes you think like the producers and Vince McMahon himself must just be kicking himself, because if Cesaro's not been on WrestleMania in a one-on-one match for 10 years and then he does that and produces some absolute magic, he must think that they've lost some time. But like you just said, Jord, what a match. I literally was, at the end of this, absolutely buzzing. It was a pick-up from the women's tag team match for me. And yeah, just like you say, some of the moves, it was like where he flipped off the ropes, went into the neutralizer, all of a sudden he's countered it into the pedigree. It was just like, I love that there's a few crossover of moves now. Like we're seeing Rollins use the pedigree, Owens using the stunner. There's moves that we've seen in the past that are coming back. And yeah, like that move that you were just saying about Rollins he used that, I think, in the last pay-per-view against Nakamura as well. So he's definitely changing some of his work. But yeah, it was just so athletic. They've just got such good chemistry together. It was just a seamless match. Absolutely, 2 guys on top of their game. And yeah, Rollins hasn't come out of this again, looking bad, because I think just his performance was just so good. And what I loved as well is just when Corey Graves at the end, you could see like he was mates with Cesaro, and just he was literally going off saying he deserves it more than anyone. And like I think they popped to him and he was just like put his fingers up to him, and it was just nice little moment. And Michael Cole then went and said that it was the biggest match of his career. So hopefully that was part 1 of the prediction that I said on the preview show, that he'd win this match. Hopefully we can get a King of the Ring or something like that, and then maybe a title match later in the year at SummerSlam, because if anyone deserves it for me, it's Cesaro.
Yeah, I was just going to say, on Mark Henry on Stone Cold's Broken Skull sessions. It's definitely one of my favourite ones. It's about how the modern day wrestler or the modern day wrestling, one of the lost arts is putting people over. And it really resonated with me because it does feel like that at times. But this Mania sort of broke that mould where we see so many superstars on night one already just putting over superstars who probably need it a little bit more. And it doesn't harm you putting someone over. If anything, it can help elevate you as well, because we're not talking here now about Seth Rollins, how he's lost now, he needs to pick himself up. We're talking about what performance he put on. And, you know, when you make a match of that caliber, win or lose, everyone wins. And it was just great for this Mania just to see that coming through. And just lastly, the superplex into the Falcon Arrow, easily one of my favourite moves in wrestling that Seth Rollins does. Just I love that move.
Yeah, I absolutely love this match. My only complaint was that it wasn't longer. Just felt it could have maybe gone another 5 minutes because it was so good. I mean, you're talking about two of the absolute best that WWE have in the ring. It was. We sort of expected it to be a really good match, and it absolutely delivered. So we sort of touched on it with Cesaro. Like, I think you both sort of think now this is going to kickstart his career. Do you think he could go on to be a WWE or Universal Champion?
I think this goes it definitely elevates him. It's critical what they do with him now. He'll either go into a program with the Universal Champion, maybe for the next big pay-per-view, or I can see maybe if Apollo wins night 2, he may go and win the Intercontinental title and then bump Big E up one. But either road, I think, is definitely a win for everyone who's a Cesaro fan.
Yeah, I sort of hope they don't put him into the title picture just yet. I think they need to just build him a little bit more, you know, because he can now come out and his promo, it's an easy promo, isn't it? I've just got the biggest win of my life at WrestleMania against Seth Rollins. I want to take on the rest of the roster. You just gradually build him. Like, fans like that long-term story. I don't just want him now to get a title match in the next pay-per-view and get beat, because then that just kills any momentum that there's been. So I just think take it slow and have a big payoff at the end, and it just gets the crowd up. And he's obviously a face character, so you can get all the heels doing all the horrible stuff to him, cheating him out of matches, you know, trying to keep him away from the belt. And then when you get that payoff at the end, it'll just be so good.
Yeah, I think one of you guys might have mentioned it before about if there potentially being like a King of the Ring tournament, and if there was, I mean, he'd obviously be one you'd really want to see win. But if not, or you've also got the Money in the Bank, and I would love to see someone like Cesaro hold it, just because it sort of guarantees him that title shot.
Yeah, I think every time the Money in the Bank comes around, he's probably top of everyone's list to win it. So it would be lovely. King of the Ring scenario would be great if you got to the final with main event Jay and just squashed him in 2 minutes, because that would really plant a seed to go forward with Roman Reigns. But just everything about that match was just money. It sort of reminds me of Jericho HBK at WrestleMania. I can't remember which one.
19.
It was a non-title fight, but it just sort of stole the show, and that's really how this match felt for night one.
Yeah, also with this match, we didn't really mention it, but did you see the UFO swing? He didn't just do the traditional swing. We got a UFO non-hand, you know, that was mental. I love that as well. And that's what I mean. He can adapt so much and just raise his game in a bigger match. And, Cesaro, man, we love you.
Yeah, he's so strong. I was watching WrestleMania 30 where he won the Andre Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and he just picks up Big Show and slams him over the top like he's just like, I don't know, like a normal sized guy. He's incredible. He is so good, and I really hope this match does kickstart his career. We're all really hoping it does. Okay, the next match we saw was for the Raw Tag Team Champions, and we've got new champs. It's AJ Styles and Omos. They defeated the New Day. It was Omos' in-ring debut. What did you think of this?
Surprisingly enjoyed this one as well. Not just because obviously we were waiting to see Omos, but the story behind the match, and just, you know, obviously Omos was hoping to start the match, and then they goad in AJ Styles and get him into the ring, and you know, you get that slow little build where they're obviously doing a beatdown on him, and they're showing why they're 11-time tag champs, the New Day, and why they're one of the best ever. But again, like where we've touched on before, them taking the loss isn't a big deal on their career because they're already legends. And so when Omos finally did get into the match, we just, you were just a little bit like, what's he going to do? And I feel like what he did in them few minutes, he delivered what he should have. It wasn't too over the top. The spot with the phenomenal forearm off his shoulders, I love that. Just the height that he got on Kofi Kingston and the selling from him when he destroyed him to actually win the belt. Just the foot on, for the pinfall. There's just little things that were just really cool in it. And I think I said on the preview show that he was 24. He's actually, I had to double check it after. I think he's actually 27. So didn't want to mislead the fans with that one. But quite happy that that they won the belts, and obviously now AJ Styles, the newest Grand Slam champion in WWE. We were talking before about him maybe not having a marquee match, but that now solidifies him as definitely a WWE Hall of Famer in the future. And a legend. He deserves all the accolades he gets just for what he's given, not just WWE, but the whole wrestling industry.
I love these pay-per-views where Big E can come out and introduce the New Day as well, because that was sensational. The crowd absolutely lapped that up as well. And then, it was sort of I sort of went through a weird journey, because when AJ and Omos first came out and he was sort of in his usual clobber, I was like, oh, great, he's not even like in wrestling gear, which I'm never really a big fan of. And then I, all the way through, thought New Day were winning this, and then they started talking trash to AJ, and then when that happened, I was like, well, he's just going to come in, and I didn't expect him to come in and just absolutely squash him. But when he was just in that vest, he looked even bigger. I didn't think it was possible, but he looked absolutely massive. And I'm very interested to see where they go with this, how long they have the belts, and what will come of it on the aftermath, because I can't imagine AJ Styles staying a tag team for too long, because he's just too good at singles. So it lived up to it went above my expectations this match. So it hasn't been a bigger Mania debut since Nicholas. So kudos to Omos.
For me it was okay. It wasn't bad, but it didn't really excite me too much. They probably did what they wanted to get done, if you know what I mean. They put over Omos. He looks like a bit of a monster now. AJ Styles is the Grand Slam champ, like you said, Barnesy. So it was okay. It weren't amazing. Like I've said before, I'd like to see AJ Styles in a more sort of high profile match. I mean, we've seen what we've like with Cesaro and Seth Rollins. If you give sort of two good partners to have a match with, you can really have a good WrestleMania match at the moment. But it is what it is. Okay, the next match was Braun Strowman defeating Shane McMahon in a steel cage match. For me, good, enjoyable match with Shane taking a massive bump off the top of the cage.
Yeah, well, for me, leading up to Mania, I always said I just sort of wish this happened at Fastlane. And it was much more enjoyable than I expected it to be, because when I come to ring, I was like, right, what crazy thing is Shane going to do? And, well, he checked that mark. My God, just getting absolutely tossed off the top of that cage. But it's just what you sort of expected from the match. Shane had a couple of crudies come out and sort of beat down Braun, sort of then goading him as he was over the cage. And fair play to Braun, because when Shane had his hand through that cage, I've never seen him move so quick. And he's a big guy, and he was up and grabbed him, and then just showing the brute strength of Strowman, just tearing the cage apart. And I do feel a bit sorry for him, because winning the Universal Champion a year ago to sort of a cage match about don't bully stupid people, it's probably not where he sees himself. But with this match, it sort of shows him just how strong and how powerful he is. So maybe they'd give him another run on Raw. It was just one of those, you knew sort of Braun was going to win, even though I said Shane would. But it's just one of those matches.
Yeah, I was surprised by this one as well. I like the story to the match. It was obviously good having Jackson and Elias attack Strowman pre-match, and obviously did a number on him with his leg. I love the coast to coast spot. That's we saw it on NXT Stand and delivering the tag match. I just love seeing Shane do that. It just throws back memories to WrestleMania 17 when we first saw it, or Rob Van Dam Hall of Famer this year. So yeah, just when you see things like that, it's just great. And yeah, I loved it when he did pull him through the cage, because that was just something we don't usually see. But in the build up to that, when he got the toolbox and he just hit Braun on the head, the way Braun sold that into the ring, I was just in stitches, because he literally looked like he'd been knocked clean out, and his body just flew back, and he took it like a trooper. So I was actually pretty impressed with Braun for that. But yeah, pretty predictable match and outcome. Because that Mania, that's sort of what happens. It was sort of similar to when Alexa Bliss was bullying Nia Jax a couple of years back, and you got that sort of, not squash, but you get that, you know, ending that everyone expects. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they were to do with Braun now. It'd be interesting if they were to feed him to Lashley next, just to, you know, give Lashley more profile, and yeah, we'll see what happens for him on Raw. But he's been a little bit lost, so having this match with Shane, obviously, you know, you're just waiting for the big spot, really, at WrestleMania with Shane. And obviously, Braun delivered that as well excellently. So, yeah, see what happens for Braun. But, yeah, good match.
Yep, totally agree. The next match was Bad Bunny and Damian Priest defeating Miz and Morrison. Before we discuss the match, what did you think of the live performance of Hey, Hey, Hop, Hop by Miz and Morrison to the entrant?
I strangely didn't hate it. I mean, they were so off time, and it was a little bit more comedy than anything. But one thing it was amazing at the beginning, because you just saw all these bunnies coming out, and I just presumed that was going to be Bad Bunny's entrance, and he was maybe either going to be one of the bunnies or come in after or whatnot. But yeah, all of a sudden all these bunnies are walking to the ring, and then yeah, you get the Miz and Morrison performance. It made me laugh to think that all them bunnies are probably NXT wrestlers, and in 10 years when they headline WrestleMania themselves, they'll be able to say that they were a bunny, you know, 10 years previous or something like that. But yeah, I just love Miz and Morrison, to be honest, and I feel like whatever they do, they turn to gold.
Yeah, and what did you think of the match? Because Bad Bunny and his in-ring debut was very impressive.
Yeah, we were talking in the group about, is this the best celebrity performance of all time after Pat McAfee? I think that, you know, it's give or take one of the two, because McAfee obviously did it on an NXT show with no crowd, whereas Bad Bunny's doing it on the biggest wrestling show there is, in front of a crowd for the first time in a year. So I think it's nip and tuck. I mean, some of the moves he pulled off, you know, the finish at the end, where he was on Priest's shoulders and he did the crossbody. He obviously did the crossbody to the outside. He did the Panama City Sunrise, but it was called the Canadian Destroyer. Just so impressive. I mean, even at the beginning where he was sort of just punching the Miz, and I wasn't expecting that, and then the next thing you know, he's doing an arm drag, and yeah, just really, really impressive. So yeah, maybe in the future we'll get Bad Bunny versus Pat McAfee and see who is the best celeb of all time.
Yeah, I think I was saying in like a few pods leading up to this, so every time we kept bringing up Bad Bunny, how, you know, he was a massive fan and he was really putting the respect into his training and really putting in the graft to make the show and really appreciate the craft the wrestlers do. Never in my wildest dreams I think I'd see him do a Canadian Destroyer. Absolutely outrageous. They went flying, and you know, fair play to Morrison, because he made him look $1 million as well, letting him do the spots on him, and sort of, you know, that Canadian Destroyer is definitely a two-man move. You need to have the trust in the Bad Bunny for doing it, and then Bad Bunny needs to have the trust in Morrison to go over with it. But yeah, easily the best celeb match on WrestleMania ever for me. Fair play to him. Side note, loved the pop Priest got, because I'm very happy he's up now from NXT, and without a crowd you never know if he's going to be popular or not, but glad with the pop he got, and I hope he has a run on the main roster after this. But yeah, we expected Bad Bunny to win, didn't expect that performance to be as good as that, and you know, all three of them now can go on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, totally agree. It was a really, really good match, and I was surprised how much Bad Bunny was in the ring, actually. I thought like maybe Priest might do a lot of the work, but Bad Bunny, to be fair to him, he was in there for probably more than anyone out of the four.
What made me die as well was just Booker T on commentary, just going like, "I told you," and then I think we got like a Morrison Rooney in the middle, and then like you got Booker T just like, "Tell me he did not just do that." It's just like just those little added elements, and like Barnsley said, Miz and Morrison's comedy is just it's so good. They're one of the easily the funniest two on WWE, I think, and they need to use more of that. I love the talk shows and stuff they do. So yeah, keep them doing what they do.
I suppose now it's going to be interesting to see if Bad Bunny, like, if that's it, a one-off performance, or if he's going to actually wrestle for a little bit more, or because obviously he's already a proven recording artist. He's got his Grammys and whatnot this year. So yeah, I suppose we'll see what happens in the storyline now. But I don't know if you'd want to carry on seeing him perform in the ring or not.
Well, we've certainly got a future Celebrity Wing Hall of Famer already. He's got to go in for that, regardless.
Okay, main event time. Bianca Belair beat Sasha Banks to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. For me, 5-star match. Probably the best one-on-one women's match at WrestleMania of all time. I absolutely love this match. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. The one thing I sort of wish they did was after they did sort of the announcements of their names, I wish they sort of just rushed into it, because you could tell Bianca emotionally, she knew what was coming, and it was you knew she was going to win, but it sort of gave it away a little bit. And I appreciate they wanted to take in the crowd and the chants and stuff, but I feel like she just needed to get into it, because once she was into it, she was an absolute star and born for the main event arena at the top of WrestleMania. That military press from the outside back in the ring was absolutely insane. She's so strong and quick. It's almost like the woman Cesaro, just absolutely incredible. And the crack of that whip at the end, that must have sounded so loud in the stadium, because through my TV, that sounded horrendous. You could see like the cut it caused on Sasha. But absolute fair play to Sasha, putting her over. There was that good little clip video of her smiling on the outside and just knowing that she's done a job to really elevate the women's division again and just keep it promoting. And yeah, like you said, Wilbs, what a main event, what a women's match. Easily one of the best they've ever had.
Yeah, you felt like this was the ending that should have happened at WrestleMania 35, but then this time, instead of the pinfall not going to plan, we had the commentator messing up the line, saying she kicked out when she clearly didn't, and didn't ruin it in any way for me, but you were more annoyed at Michael Cole, really, because the performance that them two put in deserved a perfect commentary to go with it. But yeah, like you said, some of the athleticism that Belair produced and Sasha, the hair, that played such a big role in the match, and I'm glad that they hadn't like teased some of that in previous matches leading up to it. But yeah, you think this time last year where Belair was actually fighting Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's title going into sort of Mania season, and then Charlotte Flair went over there and sort of disacknowledged Belair and told her to get out the ring while the two powerhouses go at it. We've now got Belair, who's on the women's champion on the SmackDown side, come so far in the year, just an amazing wrestler, and absolutely buzzing for her. The kiss of death, the KOD, just so many good moves. I mean, the 450 splash into the knees when Sasha got him up, that must have hurt. I mean, she took that full pelt and managed to get up, and just amazing. Yeah, so happy that Belair won. I mean, like we say, she was so emotional, and it felt a little bit predictable just because Drew didn't win earlier in the night. But yeah, I absolutely love this match.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about the women's division earlier with the tag team, but these two are just a league above. They are so good, and it shows when you put two good wrestlers together, they can create magic, and that's what these two did. It was so good, really a worthy main event. And we was talking in the previous show how the build up to this hadn't really been all that, and we wasn't sure what was going to be the actual main event. Was it going to be Drew Lashley, or was it going to be this one? And obviously it got announced after we did our preview show that it was this one. But for the match they put on, well and truly deserved to go on last.
Yeah, because the match, like you said, the build was so poor, but the match was incredible. The match was the main event and the one you will think about most, I think, when you come back to WrestleMania. I just think if they got that build right, you're talking about probably one of the greatest sort of total packages in WrestleMania, match-wise and promo-wise. We always go back to Austin Rock, and if they got the build right, you could almost not put this on that level, but it'd certainly be up there with the quality in the ring. It is just a shame that the build wasn't where it should have been. But my God, when they got in the ring, they certainly proved why they deserved the main event.
Yeah, so Sasha Banks now is never won at WrestleMania. She's 0-6, which is incredible, really. I mean, she's one of the best of all time, and so she hasn't won a WrestleMania match yet, which is absolutely crazy.
She's an absolute shoo-in next year, then.
You know, I was just going to say, there's I don't know if you've seen today since it, where they did those wrestlers did the photo shoots dressed as Taker. People have been getting the Sasha Banks Taker and putting the 0-6 above it, and it's sort of becoming a thing now. So if that quickly becomes a thing, she'll definitely win next year.
Yeah, so where do we see this going now? Obviously, like I said, these two are just a league above in SmackDown. I guess we didn't see Bayley really in action. Like she would probably be able to sort of be in the conversation as being in the top division of the SmackDown women's roster, wouldn't she?
Yeah, I mean, they could open it up completely because obviously Becky Lynch teased on Instagram the night one comment on Sunday. So she's obviously looking at likely that she's going to be back at some point. Potentially got Io Shirai maybe going to Raw or SmackDown. We don't know where yet. But yeah, it just feels like it's fresh now. Whoever Belair fights next for the belt, even if it's Banks again, obviously because of the masterclass they put on last night, we're more than happy to see that again. Or someone else fighting Belair and showing what they've got. I just think it just feels like a complete fresh start now for the women's division, and it's exciting. It's really good.
Yeah, I think once Mania ends, you always get sort of, whether they dub it or not, a draft or superstar shake-up. I think we get some movement, maybe the Monday after Mania. And as silly as it sounds, maybe just take these two apart for a bit, maybe move Sasha to Raw to take the Raw Women's belt and just sort of add a bit more depth to that of sort of especially women's stardom at the moment, and give someone maybe like Rhea someone to go up against Asuka and let Belair just breathe as champion for a little bit with the likes of Bayley, Carmella, if Io comes up. But yeah, that's one of the most exciting things about Mania is what comes after it. Where do people move to? Drew not winning the championship. Could he go to SmackDown now? It does toss all these things up, but hopefully a nice long reign for Belair. Banks will be a champion again soon. She'll always be main event in pay-per-views, and she just loves elevating. She's just such a big fan of the sport, so she's always going to help elevate that women's division. So whoever needs that boost, even if she goes and does a program with Peyton Royce, maybe show what she can do, Sasha will happily do that if it's all positive for the women's division.
Yeah. These two must be just so happy. They've absolutely delivered on the main event of WrestleMania. So yeah, that was night one. Looking back on it then, what was your match of the night?
I think we're probably all in agreement, are we, that it was Rollins against Cesaro for me. That was as close to perfection to me as there was. I just my feeling after that match was just like we've just seen something special, and that for me was match of the night.
Yeah, God, mine's a bit of a toss up with that one and Banks and Belair. I sort of look back at the whole show and just think it all delivered for me. I think from start to finish, from the nice touch from Vince and having the wrestlers out to greet the fans to Belair lifting that belt at the end. I just had such an enjoyable time watching a 4 hour pay-per-view, and it went so quickly. But yeah, if I had to, I think Cesaro and Rollins for me, just because of how much of a Cesaro fan I am, and just seeing him, do it on the main stage probably tips it for me.
Yeah, for me, it's Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks. It was an incredible match, probably the best women's match, or definitely of the year, maybe we've ever seen at WrestleMania, and to go on last and do it, I thought it was excellent. A genuine 5-star match for me.
I'll never not hear that crack of the whip. That was just savage.
Yeah, so I agree with what you guys said. Yeah, absolutely brilliant WrestleMania Night 1. Ticks all the boxes for me. And yeah, we were recording this on Saturday night, so on Sunday night. So Saturday absolutely delivered, and yeah, we're just hoping that Sunday WrestleMania 37 Night 2 delivers as well. And we will be back to review that. So please listen out for our podcast. Like we said, we did a prediction show as well, and Barnsley absolutely nailed it. He got 6 out of 7. So if you want to listen back to that as well, that's in the archives. But yeah, like I said, we will be back for WrestleMania Night 2. Please give us a follow on Twitter. We are at the Pinfall Pod. And we will see you again on the next episode. That's been the Pinfall. Time to ring the bell.